I apologize if I hit you with the white girl voice.
The message has been deleted.
Pretty girl on the 612.
What is the deal, beautiful people? It's your boy Ramon, Lifestyles Defined. Welcome back to another episode of AMA. And if you're new here, how this works, you ask your questions in the comment section down below and we answer it in upcoming videos. Today's question comes from Rickbearcat, and he says, here's a question I'd like to throw your way. CES has just been completed. Some pretty neat stuff came out of this year's show. What stood out for you? Any new dope things that really piqued your interest? Computers, televisions, gadgets, something else you saw that you'd like to talk about? So CES is a different animal than it once was. I feel like a lot of the real truly journalistic technology outlets don't really go like they used to, and I say it that way to make sure I'm very clear. There's a difference between a lot of these sites that journalists used to work at versus actual journalists going. So there's a good ton of good journalists that I follow on Twitter, and I find that in the last 2 or 3 years they just have not been going to CES. And I've got my reliable sites like CNET. They still go, and I can still trust their opinion. But CES or paying attention to CES tends to be something that becomes so much more effort than I'm willing to put in, because you get things like this smart brush or this smart toothbrush or this smart comb and a smart fork that tells you when you're eating too much based on how, or eating too fast. I'm like, guys, I don't want to hear about that stuff. And I find that this happens because more and more regular people and regular blogs and these outlets can go and they just sort of grab hold to the flashy stuff or the stuff that's put in their face as soon as they come out, right? Or as soon as they get in the floor. There's a lot of politics behind it. But long story short is I don't pay attention to CES like I used to. Now, having said that, I think a lot of dope things have been there this year that I haven't seen in the last few years. One of the things that stood out to me was the Amazon's Echo and how Alexa's literally everywhere. And that doesn't mean it's everywhere in a tasteful way or a well done way, but it's everywhere, and that speaks volumes. In fact, it should probably be live on a channel right now, actually, a video about Amazon Echo and Alexa being everywhere and how it really bothers me, and how there's some things that need to be done to make that to make sure that going forward that's handled correctly. It's funny because since doing that video, a few things have changed with the Echo, but I didn't notice because I wasn't checking in, but whatever. Yeah, so Amazon Echo Alexa's everywhere now. I thought that was really interesting. That's probably the most thing, or the number one thing that jumped out at me was like, because Microsoft, Google, and Apple are the heavy hitters in the industry, and they all have their own digital assistant with so much capabilities and so much ties into different APIs and things they can do, and none of them seem to have been integrated and taken off as well as Alexa. And Amazon is not a tech company, so I think that's interesting. I think that should serve as a wake-up call to these tech companies. Maybe it's time to readjust how we do things, who we market it to, the perception from which we come, or we attack problems to be solved. But other than that, I saw some really dope laptops. There's that 4K laptop with the 3 screens. I thought that was dope. What I thought was dope about it, it's one of those things, the price I thought was about, when I looked into it, seemed to be about $9,000. Way too much. But what I like about it was the fact that it was just a thing, right? Like, this is what we've been missing in the computer industry. Sure, you go and you design this crazy expensive, super over-the-top 3-screen laptop, but maybe 2 years from now, that would have paved the path to actually get 2 legitimate screens on a laptop, right? And I feel like we lost a lot of that. Very similar to the American economy. Back in the 60s and 70s and even the 50s, it was a country where you would fuck as much horsepower into a car as you can and just see what happened. You would put men on a rocket and go to the moon and see what happened, and then all of it stopped, and you were just like, are we really moving forward? Like, what are we inching towards? You know what I mean? Like that throwing against the wall to see what sticks. A lot of that's gone, and for good reason, because, you know, consumers are speaking with their wallets a lot more than ever, and companies are scared to take risks, and this is what happened. So I was happy to see that. Televisions is a big year. I still didn't do much research. I got a ton of stuff saved on my Get Pocket to look into. It looks like Sony's killing it right now with the TVs. Samsung's still doing their thing. LG is making waves. I think I'm gonna be ready for a major TV upgrade in about another 2 years. So I'm really interested to dive in to see what really changed this year. You know, I'm a big plasma fan, especially for gaming. So I've been watching the television stuff with the quantum dot madness and the OLED. And I think in another 2 years, they'll be ready where I can spend my money and get decent performance for my money. So that was cool. Gadget-wise, I don't know. I think the Nokia 6 thing was interesting, but that wasn't exactly there at CES. Or was it? I can't even remember. There was the Honor Magic. I think that phone looks pretty cool. I gotta look into that some more. There's a bunch of smartwatches and stuff. It was just more of the same on the gadget front. Nothing really like I would say that was, wow, that was really cool. But overall, I think CES has become less about pushing innovation, and it's about this Me Too thing, right? Where, I mean, if you look at last year's CES, it was just a big Me Too fuckfest of drones, where everyone could say, I could do a drone too, and look, mine does sort of the same thing that guy does, but my booth babes look better, come over here, right? And this year I think it was the same with televisions, you could argue. I think AMD did some dope stuff that I'm still willing to look into, but I mean, I really don't pay too much attention to CES. I always wanted to go, but I found that the consensus was you enjoy CES so much better from home, like a football game, right? Sure, it's good to be there, but when you're actually there, you start to notice how much walking it is, and how tiring it is, and how crowded it is, and how smelly it is, and like I don't want any of that. I don't want any part of that. But yeah, I mean, you know, forgive me, I'm not a big CES guy. I think most of my stuff happens outside of CES, you know, with the MWC. That's where I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? What are these people talking about? I'm big on like the keynotes from Google, Microsoft, Apple. That's where the majority of my stuff happens. So, but I want to hear from you guys, of course, including yourself, Rick. What stood out to you? What was your big thing there that you was like, you know what? This is dope. This blew my mind, and why? Thank you for your question. Like the video if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and there is a bell next to the subscription button that lets you know the instant we make a video live. My name is Ramon. I'm out of here. Peace.
From the deep forest into the sun.